Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to my channel and to another collection overview kind of video where this time I wanted to look at some of my Criterion and Masters of Cinema collection. I don't have a lot of those, but I do love the collections, like as a concept. I just haven't had the opportunity to collect that many of them, but I have some and I want to show them off. And I also, I enjoyed doing the first collection overview video that I did, so I figured I would get on with the second one. And do give me feedback what you think of these. Do you like them, or you want to change something with them, the format or whatever, the structure? Just tell me, and I will listen and I will take that into account when making the next one. I'm always open for feedback. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, the Criterion collection and the Masters of Cinema collection, they're kind of similar, but there are two existing series within DVD and Blu-ray, and I think Criterion even exists like on Laserdisc, some of the earlier releases. But the point with them is sort of to release the classics or the like historically important films, and to release them in these really fancy editions. There's a lot of bonus materials in here, and I think almost all of them contains a booklet of some kind with some extra information, so it's really interesting. And as a movie nerd, I love that sort of thing. So let's get started with it, and let's look at the ones I have from Criterion collection, because I only have 3 of those. The Criterion collection is American, and a lot of those I think are like region 1 region locked, so I mainly focus on the Masters of Cinema series, which is British, so which is the same DVD region as in my country, so that's a bit more practical for me. I mean, I do have a region-free DVD player, but I can't bring the movies to friends because they don't have region-free players, so that's sort of an issue. But I do have a couple of Criterion releases, and the first one here is number 161, and this is Under the Roofs of Paris, or Sous les Toits de Paris, I guess is how it's pronounced. I haven't actually seen that film because the reason I have this is that as a bonus material on here, there's a short film which is called Paris qui dort, which is an older like sci-fi film about, I don't remember exactly, but I think it's like time stops or something. Something happens, and there's a bunch of people who are not affected by this, and they have to gather together and sort of solve it. I think it was something like that anyway. And I remember there's some really beautiful scenes from the Eiffel Tower in that film, so that's really interesting. So I have that. And then I have another sci-fi classic, and this is Solaris by, it's based on the book by the same name, and the movie is directed by Andrei Tarkovsky, which is a very famous Russian director, I think. Also the same guy that did the movie Stalker, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the same guy. I haven't seen this one because I haven't had this for a very long time. I think I got it sometime during the last year, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet because I want to read the book first. I do have the book, and I kind of want to get to that first, and that will happen when it happens, I guess. But this is a 2-disc set, because as you can tell it's slightly thicker than a regular DVD case. And there's just a whole bunch of bonus material on here, so it's going to be really interesting to dive into that when the time comes. So Solaris was that. And then I have another sci-fi classics. You're gonna notice like a theme here that a lot of this is sci-fi. Then we have Robinson Crusoe on Mars. This one I have seen. I've only seen it once, but from what I remember of it, I thought it was pretty alright. I think it's from the 60s. It doesn't say, or maybe, yeah, 64. So by modern standards, it's not very scientifically accurate, but I think for 64 it was pretty alright on that regard. I suppose you can call this a sort of precursor to The Martian, in a way, because it's a similar story of a guy getting stranded on Mars. Only it's a different version of Mars because we know more about Mars today than we did in the year 64. But anyway, this is a really interesting film, I think. I've actually been sort of wanting to rewatch it recently, so I might do that. And then I will review it, obviously. But Robinson Crusoe on Mars, it's a pretty nice film, actually. A bit of a forgotten classic, if you ask me. So those were my Criterion collection, and then we have my Masters of Cinema collection. And first off here we have, of course, my favorite movie of all time, Metropolis. And I actually have more than one edition of that one. I also have the Steelbook edition, which is still factory sealed, because I just have this as a collector's item, and then I use this one to watch. And this is number 16 in the Masters of Cinema collection, and I think I forgot to say, but Solaris is number 164 in the Criterion collection, and Robinson Crusoe on Mars is number 404. So, you know, there's a lot of more films in there. But anyway, Metropolis. Whoops. This is an awesome edition of Metropolis. A lot of materials on there. Metropolis was directed by a German director called Fritz Lang, and Fritz Lang also did this film, which is Die Nibelungen. I don't think this is based on Wagner's opera, but I think, you know, they are sort of based on the same mythological tales, basically. So there's in essence, the same story as Wagner's opera. I haven't seen this yet, because once again, I haven't had this for a very long time. But I have seen pictures from it, and it looks gorgeous, and I just want to have it because it's Fritz Lang, and it's sort of fantasy, and I just need it in my collection. And this is number 46 in the Masters of Cinema series. And now we have another film here that is called Intolerance, or Love's Struggle Throughout the Ages, by D.W. Griffith. And yes, that is the same guy that made Birth of a Nation. If you don't know what that is, Birth of a Nation is sort of a bit of an infamous classic. It's basically a movie about the Ku Klux Klan. And, you know, all that comes with that. But I haven't seen Birth of a Nation, but it's an historically important film, even though you may not agree with the subject matter. But Intolerance is a different film, and I think this one has different parts that take place in different time periods. So there's supposed to be one about the fall of Babylon and such, and one in more modern times and such. And I'm really intrigued by that way of storytelling, so it's going to be interesting. And this one I bought at the same time as Die Nibelungen, so this is also a very new one to the collection. And this is number 99. So those were my Masters of Cinema Blu-rays, and now we move on to the DVDs, and here I have another Fritz Lang. This is Frau im Mond, or in English, Woman in the Moon, which is another sci-fi film by Fritz Lang. It's not nearly as famous as Metropolis, for good reasons, because it's not nearly as good. It's alright, but it's not quite as fantastic as Metropolis is. But I just really like the idea of having a film specifically about a woman going to the moon. I mean, she doesn't go there alone, but she is the titular character. And this is a movie from 1929, so just having that kind of character that early in film history, I think is really nice. And I have seen this movie once, maybe twice, I don't remember, but it's an alright film. It's not Fritz Lang's best film, but it's alright. And then we move on to some like horror classics, and then of course we have Nosferatu. This is a must-have, and this is the original from 1922 by F.W. Murnau. And if you haven't seen this one, it's a really nice film, in my opinion anyway. It's basically the first adaptation of Dracula, even though it's not called Dracula, because they didn't actually have the permission to, or the rights to, the Dracula name and that. And it was very close that this movie was like permanently destroyed, because I think the author of Dracula or his family or estate or something actually sued the creator and asked him to destroy the movie. But luckily some prints survived, and we have it today, and it's a real big horror classic for good reasons, because there's just this kind of atmosphere to it that is quite amazing. You don't get that kind of atmosphere today. You sort of need a silent film for it, so it's pretty awesome, I think. And that was number 64 in the Masters of Cinema collection. Now we go to number 25. I'm not doing them in order here. This is also another kind of horror film, or at least a vampire film, because it's called Vampyr, or Vampire. And this is a film by Carl Theodor Dreyer, which is another really big name from the 20s and 30s time period. He did a lot of classic films from that time period. I have watched this once, but I don't actually remember a lot about it. Not the plot. I remember it being very sort of visually interesting, but I don't remember the plot. But I think, because this is a movie from 1932, and I think this is like in the transition between silent film and talkies. So if I remember correctly, there's like some dialogue in here, spoken dialogue, but not a lot. So it's a very silent film, but the silence is sort of more eerie, because you know that it's, it is a talkie, but yeah, it's weird. But I totally need to rewatch it and look at it again, because I have forgotten parts of it. But that is a really nice movie to have in the collection. And then I also have, this is the last one, and this is number 34 in the Masters of Cinema collection, and this is The Fantastic Planet, or La Planète Sauvage. This is a French animated film from 1973, and this is sort of I would call it a sci-fi classic, or sci-fi film classic, and it's a really weird one. I don't remember, once again, I don't remember the plot to it, but there's this sort of weird world where you have these large alien-looking creatures, and then you have the more like human-looking creatures that are the pets of the big alien things, and the aliens are not treating the humans well, and it's just so weird. And the like animation and the design of all the weird creatures is just amazing. So I really like this film. If you haven't seen it, if you're interested in sci-fi film history or an animated film history, definitely check this one out, because it's pretty unique, I think. So yeah, that was my collection, my small collection of Criterion and Masters of Cinema films. Have you seen any of these? Do you also collect these series, or just, whatever you feel like commenting? Comment down below in the comment section. And, like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.